Before we begin, I'd best explain what you're getting into. Roll to Dodge is a very simple, lawless storytelling game. It has very few rules and very many possibilities. The procedure is fairly straightforward. In a group of players, each player takes their turn one at a time in sequence. In a turn, a player describes what they would like the actions of their imaginary character, usually a fictionalized representation of themselves, to be. Then, they roll a 20-sided die to determine the outcome. The closer to 20, the more successful they are. The closer to 1, the less successful. If they roll a 20, they receive a shiny little bonus on top of complete success. If they roll a 1, their failure is so impossibly total that their intended result is completely inverted. A designated narrator typically describes the resulting outcome of each roll. Myself, Jude, Matthew, and Pedro have made a habit of playing this game for years. It's a favorite of ours. In 2019, we began a new story thread, Starting Over. We chose to play and document the story inside of a Discord server, where we used a bot to roll our die and recorded every outcome narrative inside a designated chat channel. We allowed any player except for the one whose role was being narrated to act as the narrator, which means that each of the outcome narratives is written by one of the four of us. What you'll be hearing is that series of narratives dramatized, with special effects, music, and voice acting by the players. I'll be making an effort to polish the grammar, language, and semantics of the narratives to make them easier to follow and clearer to listen to, but otherwise I'll be staying as true to the original writing as possible. The presentation will be formatted in much the same way as the game itself. An introduction will be provided for context, and then the story will begin. Each narrative will begin by identifying whose turn it is, identifying what number they rolled, and then presenting the outcome narrative from there. The turn order will replicate our playing order, which is the oldest to youngest: Jude, Matthew, Joshua, and Pedro, in that order. A round consists of one roll from each of us. The series will be split into chapters, each consisting of 5 rounds. On behalf of myself and Joma Jup as a whole, I would like to take a moment to extend a special thank you to Kyle and John Michael Bricker, to whom we owe countless hours of rolling dice, arguing at the top of our lungs, and telling the most outlandish stories. The two of them first introduced me to the game, giving the 4 of us the opportunity to play and enjoy it for many years since and many years to come. It is also thanks to that first introduction that now, years later, this dramatization is being made. I extend an additional thank you to everyone involved in the project, who lent their help in the form of a voice or in any other regard. Throughout the following chapters, you will hear Joshua as the narrator, Joshua acting as himself, Jude acting as himself, Matthew acting as himself, Pedro acting as himself, Ismael, Remington, Savannah, and others acting as extras and side characters throughout, Kyle and John Michael Bricker, who will appear in cameo roles, and anyone else who may join the project in the future and to whom I'd like to extend my thanks in advance for their contributions. Now, with all of that said, let's begin.